Fred Taylor doesn't make it to the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Here's the deal. I'm not surprised. And don't get mad at me for saying that. I'm just not surprised because I watched this unfold with Tony Boselli. And yes, Fred Taylor deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. Yes, everybody in Jacksonville wants him in the Hall of Fame, needs him in the Hall of Fame. He will be in the Hall of Fame, in my opinion. He's a Hall of Fame player. But this is a process to get in, and we just watched it unfold really over the better part of the last decade with Tony Boselli. It took way longer than any of us anticipated. Fred Taylor snubbed?
Yeah, I mean, I think in terms of snub, sure, you can say that he was snubbed, right, for everything that he's given the game. And if you look at his stats in terms of like where they compare to other Hall of Famers, like, yeah, he's right on the doorstep as well. But once again, and kind of echoing what you said, it took so long for Tony Boselli to get in. I was not expecting Fred Taylor to get in this go-around. Like eventually, yes, he absolutely will get in. And it's almost one of those weird things, too, because, like, you want to, like, I'm happy with the guys that got in, right? Because they're obviously all great players. Spoiler alert, they're Hall of Famers. But, like, you're kind of rooting for your own guy as well. And I feel like that's kind of like how Fred or, Tony at the time feels, where it's like, hey, man, like, congrats to all my, my brothers out there, but I want to get in too.
Yeah, well, here's the deal. A lot of people I'm seeing, at least on Jags Twitter, a place that we live a lot, is Devin Hester got in. And again, we said this week, Devin Hester is almost like this pop culture kind of feel to Devin Hester. Like, I don't know what it was. You said it, that it was more, hey, he's a guy that does something that nobody else is doing. I mean, nobody returned kicks that way. I mean, he's certainly from a punt returner, kick returner way, he belongs in the Hall of Fame. He's the best or one of the best. Yeah. You can start arguing. I think the guy in Jacksonville is pretty darn good, by the way, right now, in Jamal Agnew. But Hester was different level, and every punt returner, kick returner refers back to Hester, as kind of the guy.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, Devin Hester is the greatest kick returner, punt returner of all time.
So if you're the greatest in a category,
of course, like if you're the greatest punter, I don't care what your greatest water boy, I don't care. Like if you're the greatest something in the National Football League, you deserve to be immortalized, and that's what Devin Hester, is.
I agree, and I agree with that. I think people have a hard time with that because if you look what Fred did over the length of what he did, how many times he impacted football games, the amount of times he had the ball in his hand, like I get that argument, I understand it, and the same thing, like I can do all the numbers, right? From 17th in rushing to 4.6 yards to Barry Sanders and Jim Brown conversations to the elegance. I call it exquisite running style of Fred Taylor. It really was. And it's beautiful. Just go watch the tape. I really do think he's one of those that you just go watch the tape. But I also understand what you just said. I think that's why on the outside, it's like, hey, the best in almost every category should be in. I think it was Freeney who got in as well.
Yeah.
He's 3 in forced fumbles all time. And I'm like, well, that feels like that's a pretty significant category for a defensive player. That, yeah, I get it. I get why he's in. You can argue. Julius Peppers, no doubt, for me. I think
yeah.
So I hate this time because you start arguing against people at why they're in the Hall of Fame. But here's the thing, Jacksonville. He's going to get in. Him getting to be a finalist this year was a major barrier to cross. Major. Once you're there, it's like 95% or 98% or whatever percent get in the Hall of Fame. He is going to get in. It's just going to be a little bit of a wait. And I guess that's why I'm not in. We all love Fred, and I feel for him. I think he handled it very well today and yesterday, and really this process. I think he understands it. It's not just going to happen, boom, like that. For whatever reason. I don't know the reason. I don't know why Tony. I was at the Super Bowls when they did it a different way. So many years in a row. That week, Tony, you think this is the year? Tony, you think this is the year? Asking other media members, asking Hall of Fame voters, is this the year? Oh, yeah, it feels like he's going to be there. Miami, where we were at the Super Bowl, I'll never forget this because it was taking a long time to get the response. Usually we would get something from Tony, like I didn't get in or something like that, or somebody in the room with him would tell us, and so we kind of knew, damn, Well, this one was taking a long time. We're starting to see Hall of Fame voters come down. I was starting to talk to Hall of Fame voters like, hey, they think there could get like 3 offensive linemen in. Or one said, like, I voted for all 3 of the offensive linemen in the class. And I remember having these conversations, and it was taking forever. I was like, what is going on? I started to get this was one of my most anxious moments in this business because I started to think, like, are we ready to go with this? live on TV and everything. Do we have enough elements of this on TV? Like, this is it. He's about to get in. And then, like, minutes later, he didn't get in. Like, we had heard they didn't get in. And it was like, that's what it was like for like 5 years with Tony. You asked anybody, you talked to anybody, you had Anthony Munoz saying all these great things, and this is what's going to take place with Fred. You're going to get all these folks that say he belongs in, he should be in, he's a Hall of Famer, he was unbelievable, try to defend him. All these things, that's what's going to happen. And then we're going to get to the vote, like these last couple weeks, you're going to be like, damn. Now, I'm not predicting that it's going to be 5, 6, 7 years. It might be next year.
Correct.
But it just doesn't surprise me after covering this for the last decade, really, around here with Tony, that Fred didn't get in yet. And that's a total, make sure you hear this loud and clear. That's a separation between should he get in? Does he deserve to be in?
Yeah.
Did he earn to get in? Yeah, absolutely. Yes, yes, yes. Like I tweeted yesterday, he's a Hall of Famer. He's going to get in. Put your patient cap on a little bit because you need it. You need it. It's going to be a process, and it might take longer than even next year. I think what people liked about this year's class is it was kind of wide open. There weren't a lot of slam dunks in this class. You could see it go other ways.
Sure.
So, I mean, even Andre Johnson, to be honest with you, like I agree with a lot of fans. Here we go, picking people apart.
Yep.
Like Andre
Sounds
Johnson's
like it.
spectacular.
Yeah.
But, I mean, really, if you want to go Andre Johnson, like where's Jimmy Smith in the conversation? I think that's a good beef. Where's Jimmy Smith if Andre Johnson? I mean, incredible numbers. I'm not saying he's not worthy. I'm just totally different on this front anyway. These guys are worthy to be in there. It doesn't need to be this hard either.
Sure.
Get in there. They belong in there.
No, without a doubt. And they will be in there. You know, it's a matter of time. I think when we go back to Tony Baselli, the problem that he had was that he played a position that you can't really point to the stats. Like, they don't keep track of how many pancakes you had. They don't keep track of how many plus plays you had. When you can't keep track of offensive linemen, to me, you have to go off of then what do his teammates, what do other players of his caliber say about him? And everybody said the same thing, that Tony Baselli belongs in the Hall of Fame. And I get it, man. This is more like a media-driven thing, and so be it. But I don't like it being the end-all, be-all. You know, like I think more consideration needs to be taken into account in terms of former players who went against Tony Baselli. Go ask Jason Taylor, who Hall of Famer. Go ask Jason Taylor if Tony Baselli should be in the Hall of Fame. He'll tell you, yeah, I think so. You know what I'm saying? And many edge rushers alike. You know, with Fred Taylor, you don't have that excuse. You don't have the excuse of, well, he doesn't really have the numbers, so we got to. No, look at the numbers and see where the numbers, stack up in terms of average yards per carry, in terms of, total yards all time of rushing. He's up there. So to me, it's not even really a debate of like, well, no, I mean, I think he has the stats to back it up. Now, the awards is one thing, right? Because he played at a time where there was a lot of great running backs. But at the end of the day, where his yards per carry, where his total yards rack up, absolutely Hall of Fame.
Well, and here's the deal. One last thing on that. This is why we talked earlier in the week. This is why I asked the question, should Trevor Lawrence be denying the Pro Bowl opportunity? Stack them up. Start getting the accolades. I get it. But it's like, this is, if Fred had 2 or 3, or would that make a difference? In Fred's case, it might. Because that one Pro Bowl, because of the landscape of running backs, because of Jacksonville at the time, all this stuff, maybe prevented him. A lot of people feel like that was the case. And so that's why I brought it up. I'm not saying, listen, a quarterback, I don't think you're getting in on Pro Bowls. You're getting in on stats and probably Super Bowls and things like that if that's down the road. And it's way down the road. I understand that. Mm-hmm. But we would have probably said, yeah, whatever, if we asked this question in 1998 about Fred Taylor, too. And here we are some years later, and we kind of know, okay, man, it would have been nice to have a couple more of those, in the way. So, listen, Fred's going to get in.